Welcome to season 2 of I Say Yes And, the podcast where we dive into the possibilities of going beyond the yes and into the action of life. I'm your host, Alycia Larson. I'm a grief healer, author, and public speaker. Let's dive into today's episode. Hello, welcome. I am recording this episode very spur of the moment, and from this point on, it is just going to be a click record and then we're good with it kind of a vibe. So today is apparently Jupiter Cazimi Day, which just the basic understanding is the closeness of it to the sun has something to do with like the perfect day for manifestation and all this jazz. There's a new moon this week. There's just a lot energetically and astrologically going on. And I'm not going to pretend to understand astrology at all. I don't. I do love that my algorithms keep me in the know and update me, but I'm not going to connect that and give the false impression that I fully understand it and am knowledgeable of it. But I wanted to talk today about rituals. Growing up, I grew up in a very conservative, I would say strict religion. And in that, it was very ritualistic, even though that's not the words that they would use. But it was very much like, you don't do this, you do this. You don't do this because that's wrong, you do this. And do this every day. And it was very rigid and very much, you're not good if you don't do this, type of a thing. And then as I stepped into spirituality and started to get intrigued by this connection with the above beings that are supporting us in a beautiful way, I started to see some similarities in the ritualness of it and how there are different practices that you can have in the spiritual realm, and there still feels like so much rigid rules around what you need to do. And if you're not doing that, then this is why your life isn't falling as beautifully as you want it to be. Now, as somebody who has discovered that not only am I an emotional person, I'm also an emotional person because I have a lot of water in my birth chart. I am a stellium Pisces, and I want to flow. I just want to flow in my life. And I've realized recently, like a lot of things that I've manifested have been all about creating ease and flow in my life in a beautiful way. And the more I start to understand what my birth chart says, the more I understand, oh, that totally makes sense. Like, I don't like the rigidness of so much because I just want to flow like water because I'm so connected to water and the water spirits in this beautiful way. And that gets to be good for me. And if you love rigid yes and no rules, then go do your thing. And I love that for you. All right. This space is all about finding what works for you in a beautiful way so that you are saying yes to receiving the downloads and the inspiration to live your life and creating the momentum to move forward into it. And so what works for you gets to be beautiful. And I say yes to that, and I love that. But I bring this up to share with you how, as somebody who doesn't love rigid rituals, I have created some flow in my life. I've created the possibility of having rituals in a way that feels right, and I don't make myself wrong about how I'm doing them. And it works beautifully for me. So if you are somebody who loves flow, or maybe you want to create more flow into your life, then this is for you. So the first thing that I want to share is my morning routine. I am so blessed that I am in a space in my life where I do not need to set an alarm. I wake up naturally early. And back in the back when I was younger, I always hated the sound of the alarm. It just was a very abrupt way to start my day. And I used to always write down my manifestation that I wanted to live a life where I didn't live it by my alarm clock waking me up. And I thought that that life was going to be by like creating my own business, and then I was going to wake up whenever I woke up. And I had this vision of what that was going to look like, and that's not what it looks like at all. I have beautifully been blessed with a day service that allows me to flow with my morning. I have a specific time that I have to be logged in, and guess what? I'm usually up for a few hours before that time comes. So I wake up, I allow myself to lay in bed for a while, which I feel is a ritual. Laying in bed for a long time. And coincidentally, I also do this at night. I go to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Am I attempting to go to sleep? No, I am laying in bed. I am relaxing. I am just doing my best things. Love it. But what I do in the morning is, as I slowly wake up, and then when I feel like it's time to get up, which sometimes is because I need to use the restroom, I go and do my thing. I pour myself some coffee, and I sit on the couch and I allow myself to just exist in this world. And one thing that I've started to do is just acknowledge that I am existing in this world. And I love that. And so I'll sit with my coffee and I'll just simply say, I acknowledge that it is beautiful to be alive today. And sometimes I riff that even more, and it will turn into, I acknowledge that my body feels a little tense right now. And I acknowledge that it's probably because, and like most recently, it was because it was the last day of my menstrual cycle. And so I just kind of walk my way through it, and it's not rigid. And there are some mornings when I don't want to speak, and that's okay. And I just sit with my cup of coffee and allow myself that time. But the other big thing that I would consider my ritual is my skincare. When I wash my face and do my skincare, I allow that to be a beautiful ritual. I'm seeing a lot of talk online about beauty glamour and glamour witches and things like that. And maybe this is a part of that, but that's not what I call it. Like I do mirror talk and I talk to myself. And as I'm applying my skincare, I set the intention for the day that I want to have and how blessed I want to be in my life. And I remind myself that you are a beautiful being and you get to create this beautiful life and you get to be loved. And I remind myself of this. And as I'm massaging the oils into my body or anything like that, I'm telling myself and I'm speaking into the beauty of who I am, the beauty of my body, and how my body has gotten me to where I am today. And I acknowledge my body, and I acknowledge that I haven't always been nice to it. And I acknowledge that today I want to show my body kindness, and I acknowledge where I am in my life in this beautiful way. And sometimes saying all that while I'm applying my skincare doesn't feel good, so I don't speak it, but maybe I think it internally in my mind. And then there are times when I put on some music and it just turns into a dance session in my bathroom of me flowing and allowing the skincare and the oils to do their thing on my skin and hydrate me and make me feel younger and create the elasticity within my skin that I took for granted as a child, things like that. And it turns into this beautiful thing. And I do feel like this is something I do within my day that allows me to compound blessings within my life. And so this is just a brief peek at something I do within my ritual. And sometimes after that, and I say sometimes because it really is sometimes I journal in my morning before I start my day service. Sometimes I pull a star code card and allow myself to download those codes or receive a message from those codes. But I have all of these other things that I do. I can talk to spirit, and I can talk with my ancestors. I love connecting with my mother, who is on the other side right now, but is still a fighting force within me. And so I do all of this to allow you to know that all of the videos or the people that you follow that say, do this, do this, do this, you get to create all of that in a way that feels good to you. Because if it feels good to you, it is the right way to do it. And so with that, take a moment to ground yourself and ask yourself, what is a non-ritual ritual that I can start that feels yummy and juicy? And allow yourself to flow into that in a beautiful way. I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me on this episode of I Say Yes and with Alycia Larson. I hope you feel empowered and inspired as you move through your day. Make sure to check out my show notes for my links so that you can continue to play in my world. Until next time, keep saying yes to yourself, yes to your dreams, and yes to the power within you. Stay magical and keep shining your light.